My name is Dr. David Holmes. I am a senior lecturer in mechanical engineering at James Cook University. I have been in a lecturer role here at JCU for almost 5 years. Before that I was at MIT in the States for 3 years as a postdoctoral fellow. And before that I completed my PhD here at JCU. One of the subjects that I take is EG 1000, Engineering 1, which is a first year subject that all engineering first years take. The subject has a very diverse cohort of students, everything from students just out of high school to perhaps students that finished high school a while ago and have gone into the workforce or done trades. It's also everything from domestic students to international students, so there's a wide range of students that complete the subject. So the major challenge with Engineering 1 is the fact that the content, the information that the students need to get in that subject has a tendency to be soft skills, very dry content around things like ethics, sustainability, English language proficiency, the design process, group work, project management, and particularly what it is to be an engineer. Traditionally that subject has been taught with all of that content in a very dry lecture note kind of approach. Add to that the engineering first year, the other subjects in the first year are very fundamental subjects, maths and physics, very theoretical content. And so students, particularly practically minded students, and we have a lot of those in engineering, actually lose sight of what it is to be an engineer and why they chose engineering when everything's either theory or dry lecture content. And so it became necessary that Engineering 1 be redesigned to be a much more practical based subject that can remind the students why they did engineering and what engineering actually is. The redesign of the subject was actually intended to move the subject towards a problem-based learning approach. Now, where problem-based learning generally has one very, very large project and the students use independent learning to actually solve that project, it became apparent that for an actual first year class where the students haven't fully developed their independent learning yet, something more in a problem-centered learning approach was necessary. And the distinction with that is that problem-centered is perhaps several smaller projects, a more scaffolded approach to the content delivery around that, but still the projects or the problems form the backbone for the actual subject. The application of problem-centered learning in EG 1000 actually follows 3 separate projects that the students do throughout the semester. Those projects are to design a tank stand to hold a water tank. They actually design and manufacture that out of paper because it's a scale model. They have to design a filter that is a sand and activated carbon filter. They have to design a centrifugal pump in the third project, and all 3 projects actually line up and associate with the broader idea of designing a water supply for a third world country. The way that we actually implement the learning experiences into those projects is that during the project timeframe for each of them, we have lectures and tutorials and workshops that actually provide the information that the students need to successfully complete that part of a project. So for example, at the very beginning we talk about the general project, the third world water supply, and tie in a lot of the grand challenges for engineers going forward, water security and things like that. With the tank stand we introduce civil engineering, we introduce the design process, we introduce group work, and we give them lecture content that actually helps them succeed in that project. When we do the filter we talk about chemical engineering, sustainability, ethics, and again they're going through the design process and they're working in groups. When we do the centrifugal pump project, the students are actually bringing everything that they've learned up to that point together, and they're also implementing technical design skills, solid modelling, again group work, again the design process, and all of the other things like sustainability and ethics and writing skills and everything that they've learned up to that point. So the actual objective of it is that the students have 3 different chances to implement a lot of the skills that we're learning. We can drip feed those skills to them rather than have really dry lecture content that might actually just solely deal with those concepts. And as a result of having the projects to work off, the lecture content is actually reduced considerably. We can focus our lectures on things like guest lectures and case studies and in-class examples, and tie it all back to the projects that they're working on so that students have ongoing context for what they're doing. The other advantage of having all of the projects throughout the semester is that the students have an ongoing active learning approach to the content that they need to know. Particularly because these students want to be engineers, so most of them are very practical minded. Being able to do projects that are hands-on, where they actually build the design that they've designed and test it in their groups against the other students. The students really enjoy that, and they can see their own work coming to fruition. The success of the strategy is demonstrated by significant improvements in student feedback that we've got using this approach. We can also track the improvement in the students' writing skills, design skills throughout the 3 projects. A major advantage of having the 3 projects is that we weave into the lectures reflective processes, so that the students after the first project reflect on the design process, reflect on the way that their group functioned, reflect on their writing, and hopefully implement any improvements that they identify into the next project. And we can do that 3 times throughout the semester. And the actual improvement in the quality and capability of the students as they go through these projects is illustrated in the quality of the designs that they put out, particularly by the last project.